That's Dan Stewart. See him out there?
He's so far
Everybody
away. Yeah.
wave. I didn't know we were still social.
Hi, Doug.
Hi, Joy. How are you doing?
I'm fine. How are you?
Fantastic, man. Life is good.
Did you go to Boulder?
I did go to Boulder,
Yeah,
and I'll do a little wrap up at the end of the
oh, okay.
session, but it was interesting. I'll tell you this before we start real quick. Like I went to one called code and preservation. So one thing we're going to need to discuss as a commission eventually is when the new IEC codes come out, there's going to be a lot of changes.
Yeah, I went to that session too. I think I went to several of them on Zoom. And so yeah, there were some interesting ideas and just some things that I saw too.
You know, this may sound strange to you, but with my experience in working with the regional building department and having to deal with some of this stuff, I felt a little shorted. I was hoping they would come in with some better answers to what it's going to be like to retrofit these buildings, because some of the stuff I already knew. I mean, I already knew this stuff, but the thing that I was a little disappointed in was their lack of knowledge of rigid foam and how that can be beneficial, because the cut sheets for those products include gap fillers, tapes, things of that nature that help you fit it to an old wall better. And they didn't even touch it.
Yeah, I've been attending some webinars by an architectural firm about retrofitting buildings and what you have to do. And it's just sort of fascinating to follow it because there's things I never thought of, but they have so many new processes.
They do.
So
Went on the CCC tour where they had done a lot of work out there, and that was interesting, say the least. That was
yeah.
It was pretty cool. Well, on this date in 1810, composer Friedrich Chopin was born.
Well,
And date in 1872, Yellowstone was established as the world's first national park. And in this date in 1936, Hoover Dam was completed. And on this date, March 1st, 1961, Kennedy established the Peace Corps. And on this date, 50 years ago, in 1973, Pink Floyd released the album Dark Side of the Moon.
Can you do these before every meeting?
Can I do this
That's
before every
really
meeting?
nice for a historic
what
preservation.
focuses us?
Want to hear the bad news?
I don't know.
1994, Justin Bieber was born, so there went music for.
Oh, now some
Hey,
people really like him.
oh, am I live? Okay. Well, welcome everyone to the March 1st, 2023 regular meeting of the Historic Preservation Commission. We are a panel or a commission made up of volunteers that review proposals and try to interpret guidelines and codes in order to better help the community with their projects when it comes to preserving our historic buildings. And as we hear your material change of appearance applications this evening, if you are not satisfied with the outcome of your application, then you may file an appeal with the city clerk within 10 days, and it can be reviewed again at that time. And I'm going to go ahead and move into our agenda proper. And with the call to order, I am going to go ahead and ask the commissioners that are attending this evening's meeting to introduce themselves, and I will state that Tamala Wright, regular commissioner, is absentee this evening.
Ann Nichols. Susan Presti, Vice Chair.
Joy Porter, member.
And Douglas Edmondson, chair. We're looking over the minutes for both December 7th, 2022 regular meeting, and for the minutes of, are we looking at, what is this the wrong? Why is that?
December and January.
Yeah, January 4th, 2023
Right.
should be the
Okay,
other.
January 4th, 2023.
Right.
This one was on here. Because I know, excuse me again, I am going to let the audience know that The February meeting of the Historic Preservation Commission was canceled due to inactivity of agenda items. So, do any of the commissioners have any suggestions or corrections to the January 4th, 2023 minutes? Do I have a motion to?
Wait.
Oh,
Repeat that. Not the January 4th, 2020, 2023? Oh,
Yes.
we're gonna start with that one. Okay.
yes.
No.
Motion to approve as presented.
I would
Second.
second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, minutes approved. And then we will not be approving minutes for February because we
But we have to do December.
We have December,
have
Yeah,
December.
December.
because we didn't
Approved
have
December.
those.
Oh, we're working backwards.
We are.
You're working
we
back.
seem to be.
That's what
That's okay.
The December
Kinda-
minutes on the January meeting, so we need to approve them now.
Okay, very good. Well, I will
the-
let commissioners review those minutes. And are there any corrections or any addendums to the minutes?
I was not at that meeting, so rely on the others.
No changes. I would move approval as presented.
Joy,
And I would second it.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, very good. We can move on then. Item 3, notice of council action. Do we have any council action to review? The heater works.
No, there has been no. No council items.
No council items. Do we have any unfinished business for this evening's meeting?
No.
Thank you very much. Staff, now to new business. Section 5, item 3, MCAC 2301, Claire Coleman, owner, MCAC for exterior alterations at 109 South Path.
Great, thank you. The owner, Claire Coleman, is proposing to replace the vinyl siding. Sorry, I have too many things up here. Proposing to replace the vinyl siding with similar material, wrap the exposed metal columns with a wood look material, and install finishes on the second story balcony of her home at 109 South Path. The property is zoned general residential and is in the historic Peakview Historic Subdistrict. Here are some photos of the house, which was built in 1999. And I am so sorry, I'm a little disorganized right now. Okay, there we go. Now I can see all of my staff report. So the house was built into a slope that is higher towards the rear of the lot with a walkout garage facing the road. Above the garage is a second story balcony, which is supported by steel beams. The owner is seeking the MCAC to clad those steel beams in a wood look material, as well as replace the vinyl siding. She's also requesting to add finishes to the balcony. That includes putting a facing on the soffit, which is the interior ceiling portion of the balcony, and as well as finish the rail itself. And again, wood look material. Please note that there is corrugated metal siding on a portion of the facade that is proposed to stay. Originally on the original plans, this building did receive an MCAC. However, those plans showed that the site would be built up and that portion of the foundation wall wouldn't be visible. That did not happen, and it was clad in this material, which would typically not be supported through an MCAC. However, at this point, staff feels that it would be a hardship to request that to be changed, and it wouldn't be suitable to clad that portion of the foundation with vinyl siding. So staff is proposing to allow that to remain. Or, excuse me, the applicant is requesting to allow that to remain. We found that Chapter 6 of the Historic District Guidelines pertain to additions and alterations in non-contributing structures. Again, this was built in 1999. These design guidelines were adopted in 2009. So whether or not that corrugated metal would have been prohibited at the time of the building permit is a little unclear to current staff, at least. So Section 6.3, materials shall appear similar in scale and finish to those seen on historic resources. The applicant is proposing horizontal vinyl lap siding, which is consistent with others in the district. And Section 6.5, to use building components that are similar in shape and size to those seen on historic resources. In addition, the addition of the tongue and groove soffit and cap plates on the balcony will add architectural character to the building that are currently absent. As you can see from one of these photos, two of these photos actually, you can see the soffit area from the road because of the grade change on the site. And so adding that little bit of detail in there will really make an impact on this property. Staff recommends approval without conditions. And this concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Chelsea. Do the commissioners have any questions for staff on this particular application?
I have a question. Why does staff feel that addressing or cladding the portion of the building that's currently corrugated with vinyl siding would be inappropriate? Was the word you used, I believe.
Right. That's just because of forgive me, I'm not a structural engineer, but the exposed concrete of the foundation does need to be clad in certain weatherproof materials because of its interaction with the ground. And it's typically not done in vinyl. That's why you would usually see like a stone wainscoting or things like that near the ground, is because of that interface. Vinyl is not typically seen in that application.
Thank you. That's helpful.
Do we have any other examples of houses in that area that have the metal? Or is it just specific to this home?
I'm unaware of any that would be similar. The applicant may know of some, but as far as I know, it's just this home.
Okay, thank you.
All right, well, do any of the commissioners feel that they have a conflict of interests in this particular application?
No, I don't.
Neither do I, and I also see that the corrugated metal has been in place. They don't intend on disturbing or modifying it in any way, so I don't see where we could have oversight on that. Let's go ahead and bring the applicants forward if they are present to share their feelings on their application, or if they have anything else to add to staff's report. Clara, can you please use the microphone, press the little speaker button with the little green lights, and then state your name and your current address? Very good.
Good evening. I am Claire Coleman. My address is 109 South Path, Manitou Springs, Colorado. The summary that Chelsea did was very well done. As she explained, the corrugated metal siding was on the property, on the house, prior to my purchase of it.
Okay.
It is covering up foundation, which is difficult to cover with other materials, as Chelsea stated.
Okay, very good. Well, it sounds like you don't have too much more to add to the application at hand, and I'm going to go ahead and reach out into the audience, either present or via internet, if anybody has any pros or cons on this, or is anybody in the audience that'd like to speak to this particular application?
The only two folks online are other applicants.
Okay, very good. Well, thank you very much for coming up. We're going to go ahead and deliberate for a moment and thank you again for coming.
Thank you.
Well, folks, I don't see anything much to discuss here. It's a really good, clean application. Seems like she's just wanting to do some preventative maintenance and unless the commissioners have any objections, I'm going to go ahead and ask for a motion to accept this application.
I just had one comment to make. You know, I think the applicant got caught with the metal. We probably wouldn't allow metal, but she bought it after it was done and it wasn't done properly, but you know, it's aged, so it's not as shiny as it was. So I think the applicant is right. I wouldn't want vinyl on my foundation in case it collapses. I'd much rather have that metal, which is stronger. So it's good to have that clarified. I agree with you, Doug, on it's a pretty good application.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make a comment. Ms. Coleman, I really appreciate that you're working to improve the external appearance and make it more compatible with the historic district. That's a wonderful thing to do as you're doing the external vinyl replacement. So thank you for that.
Yeah, I appreciate that also. I mean, it's always funny to see a house that's been sided and then you have these two toothpicks holding up a balcony that are metal poles. So it's gonna be that's for sure. Well, I'm going to go ahead and ask for a motion to
So
accept this
I'll move
application.
approval of MCAC 2301 as presented without conditions.
I would
Second.
second it, or Susan did.
All right.
I
Thank you very much for your time, Ms. Coleman. Okay. All right, well, let's go ahead and move on to item 4, MCAC 2302. Andrew Cook, owner, MCAC for exterior alterations at 39 Delaware. I believe this is also in the Pikeview subdistrict. And at this point, and I'm going to go ahead and ask, do any commissioners have any sort of ex parte or communication or any sort of conflict of interest here?
no.
No.
Or do I? Okay. Well, Chelsea, please, staff report.
Thank you. MCAC 2302 for 39 Delaware Road. The applicant is Andrew Cook. He is present online. The applicant intends to completely renovate the structure, which includes remodeling the interior, relocating the front entry door, and enlarging windows. The front entry door will be moved from the northwest facade to the southeast facade and replaced with double French doors. Each of the aluminum single pane windows will be replaced with, and one additional window will be installed on the southeast facade. This property is zoned general residential and is also in the Peakview Historic Subdistrict, as Doug mentioned. The structure is approximately 384 square feet and was constructed in 1900. The previous owners completed renovations sometime prior to 1997. The current owner is believes that the front door was moved from its original location to where it sits currently, and the proposal is to move it back to that historic front entry. Original windows and architectural details were replaced during that original remodel, and the house sits on a bluff, which is approximately 65 feet above Delaware Road. Excuse me. In 1995, the owner of the structure sought demolition in order to construct a new house. However, the demolition was never formally approved by City Council, and therefore the structure is still viewed as a contributing resource due to the construction date of 1900. At the time, the neighborhood was strongly opposed to the design of the proposed structure. This applicant intends to present a much more modest remodel of the structure and maintain the existing footprint. However, the remodel will also bring it up to modern habitable standards, that currently would be unlivable. The applicant has stated that they're seeking estimates on several different types of windows and doors and feels uncomfortable committing to a single type until estimates are received. The applicant requested to continue moving forward with the MCAC process despite the delayed information. And staff suggests that the HPC either continue the case until the information is received or grant staff the ability and authority to approve the final selection of the materials. I'm gonna go through a few slides here showing the current and proposed changes. So here you see that existing front door location and how that front door will be removed and the doors will be, or sorry, excuse me, the windows will be enlarged on this facade. Here you can see the addition of those double French doors, which would greatly increase natural light into the home, as well as passive solar heating, I believe. Again, here's that addition of a window on this facade, as well as removing a secondary access door. And finally, this facade just has the enlargement of one window. Chapter 4 of the Historic District Guidelines regulate alterations to contributing residential structures. Section 4.13, historic windows, window materials, scale, and their arrangement and location on building facade shall be preserved, especially any facade visible from the street. The existing aluminum frame windows are not original to the structure. The structure has no strong architectural styling and no discernible pattern to the fenestration. The applicant has not, again, has not solidified window or door design. However, they do intend to replace the windows with vinyl windows with mullions, creating that kind of multiple light historic appearance. Staff is of the opinion that the mullions should enhance the architectural character of the structure and potentially offset the impact that enlarging the windows would have on the visual scale of the structure. Section 4.14, historic doors and the location of the original front entry shall be preserved. Again, this would be reestablishing the original location of the front door and creating a more suitable layout on the interior of the structure. Section 4.15, architectural details such as trim combined to establish distinct character and shall be preserved whenever feasible. The applicant intends to install a uniform trim around the new windows and doors, which currently only exists around one of the windows. So that would create a more uniform appearance. Staff recommends approval of MCAC 2302 with the condition that the applicant must seek final approval of the windows and doors from staff prior to installation. And this concludes my presentation.
Well, thank you, Chelsea. I appreciate that. Does the commissioners have any questions for staff? I got a couple. Joy, got anything?
No, not right now.
The double doors, double French doors that are going in, are those visible from the street? What side is visible from the street again?
This is a road that curves.
That's a good question.
And
Right, 'cause
it's a good
up there. I
question. We
mean, I
should
drove
ask
by
the
it today
applicant.
again.
I apologize not knowing that off the top of my head.
No problem.
I believe the double French doors would be on the southeast facade. And I don't believe that's visible from the street.
Right,
But I think we should clarify with the applicant.
okay. All right, and no other questions from commissioners at this time. Okay, well,
Well, I want-
okay, go ahead, Sue.
Um,
Please.
Does staff agree with the assessment of where the historic door was located on the building? Do we have any other evidence that you know of?
I wasn't able to find any evidence. I did do quite a bit of digging into this property to when it came to whether or not it had been deemed a non-contributing resource and et cetera. I wasn't able to find anything about the original floor print and existing door location. My thinking, which could be deemed speculative, is access to the structure. Being up that steep bluff, current access is where the door was moved to. Historic access would have come around the top of the bluff where the door is being moved to. So I do believe that there's standing and that the assessment is correct, but we unfortunately don't have proof.
And just to help commissioners out a little bit, if they are unaware, the Pikeview addition, that area, some of the original structures were like this one, probably were built as what were called tent platforms. They were just a little shy of 20 by 20, and they had about a 3-foot knee wall, and there was actually a tent pitched on top. So, yeah. Okay, well, let's go ahead and bring the applicant forward, and please, Andrew, when you come online, can you state your full name, your current address, and then let us know if there's anything you'd like to add to the application or anything that would enhance staff's report thus far.
Yeah, hi guys, can you see me?
Yes.
Yes.
My name's Andrew Cook. My current address is 1881 Teller Street in Lakewood. I do have a little statement that I wanted to give to you guys. Thank you guys for the opportunity to present my proposed alterations for 39 Delaware Road. As I don't know if you guys have read my application, but the home does hold a special place in my heart, as I lived here during my high school years. I graduated from Manitou Springs High School in 2002. But more than that, the home held a deep sentimental value to my late father, who found peace and solace in the simplicity and beauty of the property. I wish to honor his legacy and turn his former home into something that he would be proud of, something that he wasn't able to do himself. My proposal is not to fundamentally alter the home, but to enhance its unique character and unique and cherished character. By preserving the existing footprint in the home, I can ensure that the essence of what made it so special to my father and to me remains intact. However, I believe the upgrades to the windows and interior layout will make the home more functional and enjoyable for a modern standard of living without sacrificing the character that makes it so special. I understand the importance of the historic preservation, and while this home may not have significant historical detailing due to prior alterations, I still aim to respect and honor its unique history and legacy. My proposed changes will only serve to enhance the home visually, making it a cherished place for generations to come. And sort of to answer some of your questions, I don't know if I can share a screen, but or if you're able to like see some of the pictures that I provided in the. Oh, I can. Okay, great. So I have some pictures of what this looks like here. Let me pull it up. I'm sorry. So here's sort of the home as it sits right now. You can see the windows, old aluminum windows from the 70s, which I believe is when this addition was put on.
Andrew,
Oh, I'm sorry. Share. Whoop.
Thank you.
How about now?
There we go. Thank you very much.
Yep. So you can see the old aluminum windows. I think they were put on sometime in the late 70s, early 80s. And that's when this back addition was put on, which we can come around to in a second. Here's where the French doors will be. And I don't believe that this is visible from the street. And the original location of the front door, I believe, was here, and then was also then moved around to the back of the house when the access to the house came from Fox Path. There is actually no access from 39 Delaware there, or from the location of where 39 Delaware would be. That was that was added at some point in time. There was a access up through 37 Delaware Road, but McGee, who owned 37 Delaware, unfortunately removed that access, and my dad never fought that. So that is gone, but you can see the old windows here. This is the back, and then this addition right here was put on sometime in the 70s or 80s, and that's a bathroom back there. You can see right here, you could see these old stairs that came up, and then there's a cutout in the foundation. So I believe there was the door was originally on the back, moved to this location, and then when the addition was built, there's an exterior door put on right where my mouse is, right here. And Chelsea mentioned that I'm going to remove that exterior door. I do not plan on removing that. I plan on keeping that existing door, and might actually make that one of the accesses into the house from the outside. This is where you park sorry, as I go around here, you can see where you can see the house from Delaware. So as you're coming around Delaware, coming up from Fox Path, you come around to this garage, and you can see the house just sort of peeking up above the garage there. And then as you come around, there's the house right there. So those French doors this would be the spot where you'd be able to see them, and you can see that's not very visible in that location. And then as you continue around the house, that's the most visible point of the house right here. And then continuing around, you can see when there's full foliage, you could almost not see the house at all from the street. And then around the back, this is where you park on Fox Path to access the house. There's a little goat trail all the way up to it. And this is about all that you can see from the back of the house. And let me know if I'm good to continue.
Yes, please continue, Andrew.
Yeah, and then so I mean the neighborhood around here, you can see a lot of the detailings of current houses in the neighborhood are just vinyl windows. A lot of them are sliders. Here's one just right down the street that has also aluminum windows, and then also I'd like to point out that 37 Delaware Road, its front door. This is that access that I was saying that used to go up 37 Delaware Road. That would be technically 39 Delaware Road, was cut out right here. But you can see 37 Delaware Road's front door also does not face Delaware Road. That's facing, there's Delaware Road right there. So that's perpendicular to the road. And then also over here on 51 Delaware Road, which is right up after you get up the top of the hill where Delaware starts. You can see that front door also doesn't face Delaware Road. So I believe that, by changing the location of the door to its original location doesn't really affect that. I think it would still sort of fit in with the character of the neighborhood. And then you could just, I think you guys, I don't know if you were part of this. This was a build on 3520, or I'm sorry, this is, I might have that. I think this is 37 Delaware Road. This is a build that I think won some awards with you guys, but I would do similar windows to this. Basically looks like a vinyl window with mullions on the inside. Although I plan to do a colonial pattern, which is basically an equally divisible lights, where this one sort of has a different pattern on it. And then as you continue around the road, you can see some of my neighbors, and this would probably be the most historical window right here. And that's that colonial pattern that I would like to do. And then just right here on 11 Delaware Road, this structure was just recently built within the last couple of years. And that would be similar to the French door that I would want to do on that. So again, with the mullions in there. to sort of match the neighborhood. So those are the closest neighbors to the house. And as I continue around, you can see that a lot of the neighbors have the same colonial pattern as in this one on 1 Delaware Road. And then this house just right down the street from it. And again, I don't know why I must mess the address up right there, but that's like 7 or 17 Delaware Road. And yeah, I think that sort of concludes everything I wanted to say on it. I guess just the main thing is that, you know, the house is 384 square feet. Although I want to bring it up and make it a much nicer home than it currently is right now. You know, windows are quite expensive, and to get up into that area for install, especially if I was held to like a real strict wood window, that would be pretty financial. It would be a pretty big financial hardship to be able to cover that cost. However, I am getting quotes, and I do have a friend that has a window company, so I'm trying to get the best window that I could possibly get up there, because I want them to be nice windows too. I want to keep the home in the family so that we can utilize it, and then and like I said, just enjoy it for years to come. And one other thing that I'd like to point out that Chelsea touched on is that in 1995, the Historic Commission did not approve the demolition of Delaware Road, but you can see in this paragraph here, the Historic Preservation Commission finds that the structure at 39 Delaware Road, for which demolition was requested, does not contribute to the architecture or historic context of the area of the historic district in which it's located. Significant previous alterations to the structure for which the applicant is not responsible, and again, this is before my dad bought it, have removed any historic detailing which may have originally existed on the building. The commission does not find that to be detrimental or cohesive to the continuity of the historic district or the district as a whole to allow demolition of the structure. And again, I want to keep the structure as it is to sort of align with the neighborhood opposition at the time, although I never had any intentions of getting rid of the structure. As I said, it is a special spiritual place to my family, so.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Cook. That was very comprehensive and very helpful. We appreciate your spirit. I'm going to go ahead and open up the floor real quick.
Can I ask, Doug, could I just ask a quick question?
Certainly.
of The applicant. Right,
Okay.
Mr. Cook, are you really set on having the colonial pattern? It's, if the price gets too high, you're still going to have some kind of pattern in the windows?
I plan to have mullions in the windows. Yes.
Okay.
I think it would just add to the value of the home when you're inside of it and looking outside of it, and just making it feel like it's feel like Manitou. And that's what I want to do. And I know you guys don't care about the interior alterations, but the structure was in pretty rough shape, and so I got under, and I found under some of the previous renovations that were done on the house, and there's full heart pine wood floors that were covered up, and there's a shiplap ceiling that was covered up, and I want to preserve that and bring it up. So the intent of the interior of the home is really to make it look like the home was taken care of since 1900, and sort of had different alterations or remodels done in the interior of the home, but sort of feel real eclectic like Manitou is, where it's not a modern feel in there, but has like that real essence of Manitou that I just get from the area, and that I've always had from the area.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I believe Commissioner Presti has some questions.
Were we going before?
Yeah,
citizens?
we'll
Okay.
go ahead and ask some questions.
Mr. Cook, I've reviewed your drawings, and you've stated that you do not yet know what exact windows you will use. However, the drawings are pretty specific. They indicate a 10 light, a 6 light. I was wondering, A, which of these windows will be double hung, that'll be opened? Which windows are just going to be casement and single pane, not able to open? And will any of them be sliders? Are you proposing side to side?
Yeah. Oh,
Just can't tell from what the information you provided. If you could give us some more information, that would be
Sure.
helpful to me.
so are you still seeing my screen right now?
Yes.
Okay, so here's the design. So basically the window on the back, the bathroom, just because of the orientation of it, would be a slider. However, that would also have the mullions, and this is completely not visible from the street whatsoever. But this is the bathroom right here. There's a tub right here and a sink and and that's where the toilet is. So that would just be the window in the bathroom. That would be the slider. My intention is for these to be single or double hung, depending on how it comes back, pricing wise. These two windows here would be single or double hung. And then all of these windows back here would be single or double hung. The one caveat is potentially this window, just because of the orientation of how it sits with this, with the kitchen and this countertop right here. Potentially trying to figure out a way, if there's a way to do like an accordion style, but that would look very similar to the single or double hung, or maybe a fold up window, so that I could be able to, you know, have access to this sort of space right here from the outside. However, that could be completely cost prohibitive, and I might not be able to do that. And if that's the case, this would just be a single or double hung as well.
Okay. Do you plan to adhere to what's on your graphics that states specifically a 6 light and a 10 light windows? Is that
I do, from my understanding from talking with a handful of window companies now, that's sort of a, that you can do that with any window without too much added cost. The reason why I picked the lights the way I did was the ratio of the square of each of the squares. So I think on that application that I submitted, let me go to that. Oh, actually I have it. I'm sorry, on the. So yeah, if I do the 6 light here, you know, the squares that the ratio of each of these squares are very similar to the ratio on each of these squares, and then so that's how I basically divided that up. And then you can see that this is 10 lights, and that's 10 lights on the upper half, right? So there'd be 10 lights up here, 10 lights down here. And basically that was to get everything, the ratio of each of the lights to match every one of the windows as close as possible. So when you're looking at it from the street, everything is comprehensive and or everything is close to the other windows as possible. So to answer your question, yes, I do intend to follow this if it's possible. And from my talking with multiple window companies, it seems like it is possible.
okay? Thank you. I was having trouble envisioning it from the graphics that you submitted because they didn't really indicate the proposed mullions.
Yeah, and I'm sorry about that. I'm pretty decent in design software, but getting to that level of design sort of it requires just a lot of extra work on my end. So I was trying to keep it simple just to get the layouts and how everything would work. But as far as that 10 light, it would be like this. that's like, that would be a 10 light right there. So you got 10 up top, 10 down below. And then you can see the next one is 6 light. So then when you divide this one up to 6, this square here is very similar to this square here. The ratio of it is as close as you can get.
Okay, I get the concept now. Thank you. So it's a 6/6 and a 10/10.
Yeah, again, I'm not 100% certain with the terminology, but from what I was looking up, that seemed to be how the window companies did it. So
Thank you. That's helpful.
you're welcome.
Do we have any other questions for the applicant from commissioners? So, and I'm just as a quick review, Mr. Cook, you are going to be, your intent is to be using divided windows and replacing all of the single slider aluminum type windows with some type of divided window, and their functionality will be dictated by their location in the house. Your siding, sir, are you going to be going to a lap type siding?
No, my intention is to just keep the stucco as the way it is. And then similar to this window up here, the only window that has trim on it, to do like a 1x4 pine or pine look trim around each of the windows.
Okay,
And to match the color of the existing trim.
all right. Okay, thank you very much. Well, let's go ahead and move on to public statement. I'm going to open the floor to anyone who has any questions or opposition in favor or opposed to this particular application. Is there anyone in the audience or anyone in attendance via Zoom?
No one online.
Oh, here we are. Good evening, Dan. You want to state your name and your place of residence, please?
Good evening. I'm Dan Stewart. I live at 601 Southside Road, Manitou Springs, and I am the immediate neighbor to the south of Andrew's house there. Andrew's dad was a friend of mine for 10 years before he died, and I'm really happy that Andrew is taking on this project. The house is in considerable need. I think he said it pretty tactfully, but it's in considerable need of lots of love. So for purposes of your record, I just wanted to indicate my support for what he's proposing. The aluminum windows don't add anything to the look of the house. I think they were probably reduced in size when it was remodeled, and so his proposal for larger windows will certainly improve the look from the inside and the outside. And I think adding the trim also improves the house. So I wanted to thank Andrew publicly for his efforts, and I look forward to his renovation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dan. Appreciate it. Do we have anyone else with public comment?
My name is David Ball. I live at 30 Delaware Road on the same street. So Dan lives above, I live below. I'm impressed with Andrew's effort. I think he's going to improve the house. I'm glad he's keeping it in the family. And just from a logistics point of view, as a resident who just lives near this house, you cannot see this house from the street. So I know there's a lot of concern. Is it 6? Is it 8? Is it 10? You will not be able to see it unless you hike up a bunch of stairs and go out of your way to see this house. So I just want to say I'm in support of what Andrew's doing. And I think he's done a great job. So I look forward to seeing his improved house.
Thanks, David. Appreciate it. Okay, any other public comments? Well, I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing part of this particular application. Commissioners, do we have any other questions, concerns, or comments on this application?
I just have one. I mean, I hear what the applicant is saying, and I think he's, it's a family home and it's real important. I'm a little uncomfortable about having staff do the final approval of the windows and the door. And yet when I hear the applicant, I think, well, he's going to do a good job. I'm just wondering how the other commissioners feel about that. I'm on the fence whether we should have postpone and come back, or whether we should go ahead and approve something that we haven't seen what's going to go in. So I look forward to hearing from the other commissioners.
Yeah, and I'd be happy to give my opinion. I would be perfectly comfortable having staff approve the windows and door.
Thanks, Anne.
And
I don't know if I'm still muted, but I'm more than, or if I am muted, but I'm more than happy. I don't think by this time next month, I think by this time next month, I will have the window selection process done. I guess mainly just the layout to generally just start work on the interior of the house. I can't do the interior of the house without approval of changing layout of what of the windows and the door and stuff like that. I can't proceed with my design. So the biggest hurdle I have is to get approval so that I could at least get a building permit to start that portion of work. I'd be more than happy to present the window selection. However, if you guys are comfortable with staff picking that, that's okay as well.
Very good. Well, go ahead, Susan, please. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Cook, for that additional clarification. That was, as with Commissioner Porter, I felt the same way. I would not want to place the burden of making these decisions for the final selection on staff necessarily. But I really approve your concept and your general design, Mr. Cook. I would like to review the actual windows and door before I fully approve the MCAC. And I don't know if we can do it a partial approval, but I would like to have those designs come back next month. That would be better for me than leaving it totally to staff. But I can go either way if we're evenly split on the commission. I will also add that I believe we have in the past always required that the mullions or grids or grills, whatever you want to call them, be external on any windows that are installed in our historic district these days, as opposed to internal or between panes of glass. Is that not consistent with what this commission has been directing in the recent months?
Yeah, that's consistent.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So that would be something to keep in consideration as you select a window, Mr. Cook. That would be our expectation, and we would probably add that as a condition.
Okay, if there is, just like the public comments said, it is really hard to get that level of detail from the street. And I guess I'm just concerned because some of the initial quotes, because I did quote like Anderson and Pella, sort of like the wood windows initially because of reading, the historic guidelines, and those came back at like $25,000, and you break that out by 384 square feet, and you just get so exorbitant in cost. I'm just slightly concerned that there is a chance that might add too much expense for my project. However, I'm 100% willing to go down the path of at least exploring it. I would like to point out that most of even some of the projects that have been built, like I said, down just like my neighbor's house is right down the street that do have mullions. They're not on the exterior, and specifically the one that was built just a year or two ago, which is, I don't know if you can still see my screen, but this structure right here, those are also not on the exterior. But again, I'm more than willing to explore the options. I'm just concerned that if it's very expensive, that it's a little prohibitive in that sense.
Chelsea, do you have any comments?
Just back to the comment about a partial approval. Given that would fundamentally change the part of the project that is up for review, it is staff's advice to continue the entire application, as that does decrease public notice requirements and et cetera. So we can rediscuss the entire project or just revisit the windows at that point. But if you do a partial approval, it makes it more complicated.
I know I understand that, Chelsea, it makes sense. I guess that I would like to see, you know, if it is going to be prohibitive to have it on the outside like we've been requiring in other buildings, and this is a fine example of a historic building that's been sort of mangled over the years, but, you know, I would like us to sort of see what it is we're going to approve. And again, I can see what Susan is saying about putting it on staff at this time. I think it's part of what we're supposed to do when we deliberate. So I don't want to provide more of a hardship for Mr. Cook at all. Yet at the same time, I want to try to see what the options might be. We could come back and say, these are the options, and the one that we're asking for is just not going to work economically. Then I can see us approving something different. But I almost want to see what's going to happen. But again, I'm listening to the commission.
I'm totally okay with that. I don't know if it's okay to just approve the plans as it is, and then I just don't order the windows. And then wait on ordering the windows until after next month's meeting.
Andrew,
Is that at all possible, Chelsea?
typically this portion is reserved for the commission to discuss among themselves.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
So I think we heard you say that if we don't approve the entire application, if we do it conditional, or if we try to only make a partial approval, that's a problem. Is that
Yeah.
what you told us?
It's certainly not a problem. We can renotice the portions of the application that are left undecided. It would, whatever the commission
Okay.
requests.
So what if I made a motion?
Well, I'd like to make a couple of comments here.
Okay,
First and foremost, I would like to thank you very much for your thoroughness and your mindfulness, Mr. Cook. This is exceptional. This is one of the better presentations I've seen from a property owner that is looking at doing alterations or modifications to a structure that in my mind has no contributing aspects to the historic district except for being a shell on a piece of property that happens to be inside the boundaries. I agree thoroughly with the statement of the prior commission that even though they did not approve demolition, that this building has no historic attributes whatsoever that are original to the building, except for what may exist in the interior. Until you start ripping this thing down to the studs, nobody's really going to know where the first door was. Access to these particular properties in the city of Manitou Springs are always difficult at best. You don't have a driveway up to the building. Your builder, whoever's going to be contracting for you is going to have a host of challenges ahead of them. The one thing I would like to see for you personally is to see you move forward as fast as you can, get a permit on this before the new energy codes trigger is pulled. That will put challenges before you because you will be what's called a tier 3 modification. So therefore, that will affect how you insulate the building, so on and so forth. You have to do a considerable amount more work than you would right now. Within the next 6 months is when all that's going to happen. I have one question for staff. If we were to ask Mr. Cook to bring back a final window design to us, because again, I want to reiterate your expansion of the windows, your symmetry and balance that you are adding to this clean design. My hat is off to you, and I wish we saw more of this. Chelsea, is there any way he can be released for permitting and this just be brought back for materials approval?
Yes. So a partial approval, which is what you're referencing, would create requirements that we renotice the portion of the application that is being heard again, the materials, because it is different from the current application. Therefore, it kind of needs to be noticed to neighbors, as we've seen a couple of been present. So we would need to renotice that portion. We can absolutely do that. We do it for every application, so.
So Mr. Cook, I do have one question for you. You do not plan on changing the size of any of your openings? Because you will have to present a certain amount of structural work. This will have to be signed off, obviously, by an architect or an engineer stamp. Are you going to be changing?
Correct. I have a structural engineer that's going to stamp it for me, that's already working on my design. The only windows that potentially may change very, very slightly in size would be the ones by the French door, just depending on how that comes back, which are these two. Right now I have them at 2'3". Again, that was to get those lights at the right ratio. But if these might have to go similar to you know, that picture that I was showing you of the neighbor's house just right down the street, like that, then that would be the only other change. Everything else, I think the opening sizes that I have there are about as economical as I could get from talking with window companies. So I don't foresee those changing at this point. And if they did, it would be very, very minor, you know, plus or minus 6 inches.
All right, well, I'm going to ask one of the commissioners then at this point in time.
So when we have a motion, are you going to set the motion? You know, I don't know if the partial is really, I don't know. I guess I'll listen to the motion.
I won't vote for a motion that's gonna prevent him from pulling permit within.
So why don't you let me make the motion?
Okay.
So I move that we approve MCAC, is it 2302? With the provision that the applicant provide the detail on the windows and the door to staff, that the windows have external divided lights, and that if staff and the applicant cannot come to agreement on those aspects of the project, that aspect would come back to the commission.
I would second that.
Joy? All in favor?
I would vote in favor with Ann's provisions, yes.
Very good. Okay, thank you much. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I appreciate it. Mr. Cook, good luck and expedience on your project.
Thank you. And thanks to the neighbors that came for me. That's really nice. I didn't expect you guys to do that. So thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Okay, well, we're going to go ahead and move on to item 5, MCAC 2303. Applicants Sam and Sharon Eplin, owners, MCAC for new construction at 121 Pawnee Avenue. Are there any commissioners that have any sort of conflict or of interest or ex parte or that nature that prevent them from commenting on this application? Okay, very good. Chelsea, what do you got for us?
Great, thank you. So 121 Pawnee Avenue, MCAC 2303. The owners are requesting an MCAC to construct a new single-family residence on the site of a formerly damaged and demolished single-family home. It is zoned general residential and is in the Midland Historic District. The 1,325 square foot legal non-conforming parcel is smaller than the modern development standard that requires a minimum lot size of 4,400 square feet. It previously contained a modest residence, which was approximately 1,050 square feet. The new owners are proposing a new 1,050 square foot house, which will be nearly identical in structure to the previous home, with a couple main modifications. The just a little bit more background for the record. The previous owner applied for a subdivision of this lot in 2022, along with 2 other adjacent parcels, in an attempt to make this lot larger and more easily buildable. However, the City Planning Commission denied that application on the basis that the new subdivision would create legal nonconforming lots. It's not exactly creating the new legal nonconforming lots because the lots were already legal nonconforming. However, it would be replatting new legal nonconform, or new nonconforming lots. So it was clarified that during that meeting, however, that the zoning code in effect at the time, the one ruling this current application, that it did not limit the time frame within which a damaged legal nonconforming structure could be rebuilt to the pre-existing nonconforming footprint. So essentially, the old home did not conform to setbacks, things like that. And this new home will be built on the exact same footprint and will also not conform to setbacks. They will not need to seek variances to do so. The owners are proposing to build a 2-story home, 25 feet in height. Again, consistent with the pre-existing structure. They propose 4-inch horizontal lap siding for the primary siding and trim with 7-inch horizontal lap siding for accents. They are proposing a gable roof, and color scheme is cream with light green accents and reddish brown trim. Let's see, I have a couple photos here. Here are the proposed elevations. The upper left here is the front door. As you can see in these side elevations, that front porch is recessed under the second floor. And that is true to how the original house was built. Doing this allows the owners to have a second floor that is a little bit larger than the first. And obviously with a 1,000 square foot house, every foot matters. So the historic district guidelines has nearly every section of chapter 5, which regulates new residential construction, applies to this house. So for the sake of expediency, I will just touch on a couple. The general alignment and orientation of the proposed home match the former home as well as adjacent houses. The material and finishes that complement existing historic resources. The materials are modern, so asphalt shingle roofing as well as vinyl lap siding. However, the scale and orientation and application of those materials will be visually compatible with nearby structures. Again, the proposed gable roof is similar to others in the area, and the front porch does face Pawnee Avenue. I think that is the end of my presentation. Staff recommends approval of MCAC 2303 without condition.
Thank you very much, Chelsea. Do any of the commissioners have questions for staff on this particular application?
I don't have any.
And neither do I. I'm kind of glad to see this building being replaced. Okay, well, we'll go ahead and bring the applicant forward. Please, when you come to, now I'm going to assume that our applicant is online. Good evening. Please state your full name and place of residence.
I'm Sam and this is Sharon Eblin, and we live in currently reside in Omaha, Nebraska.
15311
sorry.
Wycliffe Drive.
Well, do you folks have anything else to add to this application?
No, just that we've been to Manitou. I rented a place there years and years ago, and I took my wife there a few times. We fell in love with the place, and we always dreamed about having a place there that that we could go to and enjoy the city. And it wasn't really a thing. Lots don't become available in Manitou. And we went there a few months ago and we were actually looking for acreages outside of Manitou. And we just didn't get the feel and the vibe of Manitou, which is what we really fell in love with and what we wanted. So when we found there was a house that had burned down, there's a lot of concessions to be made, an acreage versus a postage size stamped lot. But we figured that the location was worth it for us. We're walking distance to the library and to the main strip. And we really just want a house that has all the modern amenities and everything, brand new plumbing, brand new electrical, brand new HVAC, but looks like it's been there since all the other houses were built. And that's all we're looking to do. We're just looking to blend in. And it is kind of challenging. There's been a lot of things to go through. And even this conversation we're having right now, and it's kind of a double-edged sword because it's a lot of things to go through, but we realize at the same point, if there weren't these systems in place, there'd be a Walmart instead of a library
Right.
on Pawnee. So it's we're just looking forward to living there. So
And I might just add a couple more things. I agree with everything Sam said. This is going to be a forever home for us. This is not going to be something that we're trying to flip.
No.
This is going to be ours forever. We, as Sam said, we very much want to blend into the aesthetic of the area. That's very important to us. And that's why we fell in love with Manitou. Sam, like you mentioned, he lived
Yep.
there, what, about 20 years ago?
What?
Sorry. Maybe like 2 years ago. I don't know. Now I've upset him. But no, I mean, obviously it was the area stuck in his heart and he wanted to share it with me and I fell in love too. And we want to be part of that community very much. And I would also just add that Sam is a contractor. He's an electrical contractor. So he's very used to the construction process. He's done a number of new construction homes here in Omaha and is very familiar with the process and how it goes. That's, I think, all I have to say.
Yeah, but we've reached out to the Pikes Peak Regional Development Center, is that it?
Building?
Regional Building Department.
Yes.
Yep. And so they're super helpful there. And, Chelsea has been super helpful. She's been amazing to work with.
Yeah.
So I think we've got a really good, realistic time frame, a really good outline of like the schedule of events to go forward. So we're just really looking forward to it. Looking forward to the point, I guess, where we can get a permit pulled and, there's some things we'll have to go through, but I think we're going into it as well knowledgeable as anybody possibly could at this point. So.
And if anybody would like to see pictures, I have, obviously this is new construction, it's ground up. So I do have pictures with SKU numbers and model numbers for all the building materials, including colors and styles, if anybody would like to see that.
Well, thank you very much. Commissioners, do you have any questions for the applicants?
It'll be good to have people that love Manitou in our community.
We do. And for what it's worth, we know the last place was blown up because they were cooking drugs there. And so we don't do drugs for what it's worth.
I'm a high school teacher. There's no way.
Thanks for that information.
Yeah, we were actually talking to, was it Greg?
I think it was Greg.
It's Greg just north of us. And he's,
119 Pawnee.
yeah, he's a super nice guy.
Yeah.
So he'll be a great neighbor, I think, going forward, so.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for providing the photographs and conceptuals with your package. We did see materials listings, so on and so forth.
Don't think that oh, sorry, go ahead. I thought I forgot. It's like turn the talk side.
Just open it up to since the commissioners seem to not have too many questions for you. I'm going to go ahead and open it up to public statement at this time. Is there anybody in the audience or in attendance via Zoom that have any sort of comments on this particular application?
No one online.
No one online. Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and close the public part of the hearing. And I'm going to thank the applicants for being present. The commissioners are just going to discuss amongst ourselves for a moment. And then we'll make a motion on your application. Thank you very much again. And we hope we can welcome you to Manitou Springs. This town is full of plenty of transplants that have been very enthusiastic and have been assets to our.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you for being so welcoming.
Very good. Commissioners, do we have any questions for staff? Anything on this application at all?
I don't have
I
any.
have just some comments. I really love the design. It looks very compatible with the historic district, and I applaud you all for creating a structure that fits in to the former footprint and in this neighborhood. My only one observation is the pictured exterior lighting fixture. I
Oh,
believe
yes.
our standard is for down lighting as opposed to lighting that goes straight out. So I would probably like to see the staff have final approval on the final selection of the exterior porch lighting. Make sure it's consistent with what we've been doing for new builds in our community. Other than that, all the information was excellent.
Thanks for noticing that, Susan. I had noticed it when I went over the packet, but I forgot to say anything with the new code. Great.
Very good. Anyone else? Okay, so and just Sharon and Sam, just to let you two know, the only recommendation from commissioners are the exterior lighting be downward facing. The city of Manitou Springs is making an attempt to be what they call dark sky friendly. Of course, you know, living next to 1 million people will never be dark sky compliant, but we are making an attempt to keep lighting down to a minimum. So I hope you can
No,
appreciate it.
Perfect.
Fair enough. That's like, I'm an electrical contractor. You just show me what light you want and we'll put it in. I don't, you know,
No
we
problem.
can kind of look around. If there's any, Chelsea, if you have any like examples of what you're looking for, just let me know and we'll put that in. But
That's easy.
yeah, I would hope that's not gonna,
Yeah.
hold up the permit process, but.
Yeah, no, not at all. Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and close all comments, and I'm going to ask one of our commissioners to make a motion with the one stipulation.
So I would move approval of the material change of appearance certification at 121 Pawnee Avenue based on the findings that the request meets the review criteria. And with the one condition that the final choice of the exterior lighting, porch lighting, be presented to staff for final approval.
I would second that.
All in favor?
I,
Aye.
Um,
Okay, it's unanimous, and thank you folks very much for joining us this evening. That's the end of our hearings for items of material change of appearance for this evening's meeting. I will be moving on to other business, section 6. And there's a few things we're going to be talking about tonight here. First, I would like to reach out to, in the audience, I see Laura Kineseth is with us this evening. She's made application to be a commissioner on the HPC board. And Laura, could you come up for a moment? Laura, could you state your full name and your place of residence?
It's Laura Kinseth, and my place of residence is 819 Manitou Avenue, number 208.
Very good. Thank you so much. I'd like to let all the commissioners know that in emails, I've shared Laura's application and letter of intent. And I'd like to welcome her to the commission. I am going to personally write a letter as the current chair of the HPC to recommend that you join us on the Historic Preservation Commission. Commissioners, do you have any questions for Laura?
I know I read the things that you sent out to us, Doug, and it looked very extensive and would be a great addition to our commission.
Thank you.
Hopefully you'll accept our invitation.
I believe I would be very interested.
Okay, thank you very much. Well,
I have a question. What is the next step and what is the timeline for council approval of that recommendation and application?
If I'm not mistaken, is this the appointment that is on the agenda for March 7th, or would it be March 21st? Are you aware, Doug?
I have to send a letter of recommendation, so it'll probably be the 21st. And in that case, I believe that she would be able to be present for the April meeting.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Laura.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Thank
You have a good evening. Okay, so a couple of things we're looking at here real quick, like, because I'm gonna move through this pretty quickly. There were, so I was interviewed by Nancy Fortune as part of a city council directive to sort of get a feel for commissions and where they're at. And one of the things, she brought a couple things to my attention. One of them was the requirements to be sitting on this board. And, you know, so basically I know everyone that's on this board right now, I think outside of Tamala Wright has some sort of college education, except for myself, and my requirement. And my meeting a requirement is that I'm a general contractor specific for preservation, so on and so forth. But it referred to us hiring consultants outside of that. So it was sort of a null and void. But the other thing she brought to our attention was that every year we are to vote for chair, vice chair, secretary, so on and so forth. And so I guess we will do that later in this meeting, or should we do it in the next meeting?
I have a question on that, Doug. As I understand it, the different commissions sort of decide, you know, when they do the chairs. I think when I came on, it was like for 2 years.
Right.
And then we elect someone just because, at least for me, when I did it for a year, I didn't really start understanding as much until the second year. And so I'm not sure that we have to do it. I'm not sure it says that we have to do it every year.
She was just referencing code and ordinance on that. And I feel the same way. I've been here for about a year and I still look at the microphone like it's a rattlesnake and.
No, you don't.
Yeah, so I can give you the history since I've been on.
Yes.
Is we have typically done election of officers every year,
Okay.
usually at the January meeting, which we didn't do. But our preference has been that the officers stay for 2 years, but we elect them annually.
Oh,
So
okay.
Appropriate to either, is it noticed on, I thought it was noticed on this agenda.
It is on this agenda,
Yeah.
and my interpretation of code is that it does happen annually. We are 2 months late.
Yeah.
That's just because we have new staff.
Yeah.
I have set calendar invites for us to do it next year in January. So
Okay.
the
Okay.
current term will only be for 9 months. However,
Yeah.
I think it's worth doing if you are all comfortable with it. I'm not aware if standard operating procedures for the HPC themselves, that's not what they're called, but those guidelines, if they say anything different, it would be in conflict with code and code would prevail.
Yeah, so that was kind of the conversation. And so
That's
if the
right,
code
yeah.
says- the code says, and as you state, ordinance says that we have to do it annually. It makes no other mention to you have to have a new chair or anything of that nature. So what I'm going to suggest, and thank you very much, Joy, because I do feel I'm starting to get really comfortable with this, and it's taken me an entire year just to show everybody how poor of a public speaker I really am.
Oh, Doug.
But what I would suggest as chair is that I would like a commissioner to make a motion that we would vote to maintain our current chair structure as it is for one more calendar year. Would that be?
I think what Ann did though is she sort of explained it that we, as a group, do it annually, and then as a group, we elect the same person the next year unless there's some kind of crazy thing, which I can't see.
Right, so I would move, I have one question. I don't know that we've ever done secretary.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
I can't imagine that we have.
Yeah.
If someone wants to wear the hat, I welcome them to.
I
There we
would
go.
move that we elect Doug as chair and Susan as vice chair.
And I would second that.
All in favor?
I,
Thank you. I appreciate it, and I appreciate your vote of confidence, and we'll do it. Good job. Oh, yeah. Okay, we're gonna go on to something else. Chelsea, when I did send you the email about some of the awards thing. The value added use tax refund, fee waiver, incentive awards, those things are in place. We do have the in-kind mini grants, things of that nature. The question that I was asked by, unfortunately, Mr. Stewart, who just left, was we used to hold award ceremonies where we would basically just set out a little snack tray. People would gather, some staff members and HPC would be there, and people who had completed MCACs to their, fulfilled their application and did a good job would receive basically a small sort of token plaque and a bit of a nod of recognition from the city and from the community itself. And of course, that is one of the things that fell by the wayside during COVID.
Right.
And so we have not done any sort of presentation for MCACs from 2019 on. And so now we're in the year 2023, so we could easily regress 3 years of looking over MCACs that were satisfied, awarding awards to ones we think that were really outstanding or that did a good job. Dan Stewart did bring up that the priest at Our Lady of Perpetual has said, I never got my award, but of course, again, that was one of the first ones we approved. And if you haven't seen it, their ADA wheelchair access ramp and other modifications, including grounds, they did a magnificent job. They did a wonderful job. And there are several other small projects that have been executed as MCACs that deserve that nod. So I know it's a very inexpensive thing to do. I don't know if it's a budget request that needs to go before city council.
Yeah, it was done. The last one I went to was at the Miramont Castle, and there was catering of food. And there were some artistic plaques made for each one that was deemed rewardable. And well, I don't know, I think Michelle handled, I don't know what the cost was. I'm sure someone could research and find out what the line item was.
As part of our annual budget, there is a line item for historic preservation awards. And it's typically done in the Historic Preservation Month or whatever they call that, which is May. And staff would prepare a list of, as Doug said, projects that had been completed. And we would go look at them and vote for which ones we thought ought to get recognition. But I think the first thing, Chelsea, might be to check and see if there is a budget line item, because I don't recall.
And I don't off the top of my head either. Hannah would absolutely have more information. I think going forward, it would be helpful. I will do all the research that I can. I think it would be helpful if you all could find any sort of criteria or anything that was brought up as sort of who's deemed, commendable.
Right.
And how that all took place. That's one thing that we were a little unclear on. And then, of course, there's also kind of the logistical issue of really, we only see when a building permit is pulled. We don't have any sort of end inspection or anything for a lot of these types of projects. So I think if I could request the assistance of the commission.
Absolutely.
To send me any sort of projects that you think are completed. Give me some sort of starting point. I'd be more than happy to look into those. But I think we need to do a little bit of research of how this was done and,
Sure.
if we can continue forward without any.
So
formality.
in my time as a contractor preservationist in town, I actually received 6 of these. And I display them in the houses or give them to property owners, so on and so forth. So the thing I can suggest, what I'll suggest is that if I can reach out to Michelle Anthony personally, I will talk to her. Since it's I don't mind, going back, doing a little reference work. And if you can send me basically a master list of any MCAC that was issued as of the 1st of 2019, I will go out into the field and see what has been satisfied personally. I would be more than glad to do that.
From what I can tell, we do not have a master list. I can put one together.
You know, what you could do, and I'd be happy to do it, is you just back through online. There's minutes from each of our meetings posted.
Oh,
And you
absolutely.
just check and see which ones were approved.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a little bit of work, but
It-
I'd be willing to do it if you want me to.
if
So
you're
why don't we
offering, I
team
will
up?
not turn down
Pardon?
Why
assistance.
don't we team up?
Okay.
Research the MCACs that were approved, and then I will go out in the field and do a field survey and see if they've been satisfied. And then we can maybe bring up a list next month.
Yeah, I mean, what we depended on Michelle for is to let us know which ones were complete.
Yeah,
Because you can tell from what was approved, whether they actually were done, because I know a number that we approved that have
Never
never
been done.
Right,
Yeah.
and that's kind of what I was thinking.
Yeah,
So,
so
yeah,
that's-
if
that's the
you
problem.
are.
Well, I
willing-
can, but I can do that too, because I'm still a licensed contractor and I have a portal with Pikes Peak Regional Building Department that tells me if,
So I'll do the list and you'll go look.
and I'll
Okay.
do, I'll do the, she does the list. I'll do the field work and verification through Pikes Peak Regional Building Department, and then I can put together a party in 20 minutes. So.
and
don't worry
then
about-
Doug, Michelle might have, when we were rating the different places, she may have a sheet that showed the ratings of how we decided. some.
Oh, okay, well, I'll talk to Michelle. I owe
Yeah.
her a phone call. It's been a,
And I can absolutely look into
yeah.
files
maybe
and things like that
bounce
as well,
around
but
that a
I
little bit.
absolutely appreciate your assistance in bringing this up to us so we can continue this great tradition. Looking forward to it. We could use a little fun around here, so.
Right. And I think for May, again, because they're, usually the council does a proclamation for Historic Preservation Month, and then we make a big deal about the Historic Preservation Awards. So I think that ought to stay consistent.
Right.
We will
Yeah.
do our very best.
Thank you, Chelsea.
Yeah, thank you, Chelsea, and thank you guys for listening to that. I know it was something that I wanted to bring to the attention of the commission, and I've been asked by a few people about this, but Dan Stewart was the latest one that really put the bug in my ear. And I think Our Lady was, I think, literally one of the first MCACs I ever heard. So, and they did a magnificent job. They really did. So, well, that's pretty much it for our agenda items. I'll let the commission and staff know that I thoroughly enjoyed go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I do have a couple staff updates, just if you want to.
Oh, okay, sure, certainly.
So first, I'd like to introduce Erin Ringsred. She is our planner too. Very happy to be joining here tonight. If you care to say anything, you don't have to.
I'm just happy to be here. So nice to meet everyone.
Nice to meet you too, Eric.
And I'm going to let Erin introduce, I'm going to ask Erin to introduce our next item.
We wanted to let everyone know that we are beginning signage inventory and analysis for Manitou Ave from Highway 24 to Serpentine Drive. So we were taking just an inventory of what signs are out there in the public realm, whether they be regulatory or what have you, and we'll be sort of moving forward with a project regarding that. So we'll keep you guys updated, but this is notification that we've started. So you'll see me out there measuring signs in the next few weeks.
And I'll, my expertise, I used to work in the sign industry. So if you have any questions about signs, I can tell you all about it.
Great, I really
No problem.
That's all we have.
Okay, thank you. Well, I'm just going to give you guys a quick rundown on the Preservation Inc. History Colorado conference that I attended in Boulder. It was magnificent. It was well attended. There were over 300 people at the conference itself. The opening statements were marked by a long dialogue by a woman named Cassandra Atencio, who was the preservation, the official preservation director for the Southern Ute Nation. And I can assure you that there were wonderful examples, mainly throughout the nation, of neighborhoods reconditioning, repurposing, preserving, restoring wonderful old structures. But the real hot topic items were sustainability, affordable housing, and Indigenous peoples and Black history. So they seem to be extremely prevalent in all of the cases, all the sessions that I even just briefly sat in on. And it's refreshing to see that. It's really refreshing to see the First Nations people have a voice in preservation sites. Right now, one of the big ones that's being brought to bear are the 407 Native American children's schools that were in the West that have all but been forgotten and swept under the rug. There were some code compliance classes that I attended. And I mean, they were helpful, but as a contractor, I mean, I'm in the industry, it's a little different when, you know, when you have an architectural and engineer versus field application. There's always a difference there. And bringing those two worlds together sometimes can be a little painful. I'm trying to be diplomatic. And of course, one of the ones I attended was the Watkins Family Stained Glass Studio was present there. They've been in the state of Colorado for 160
fun.
and they have they built the stained glass foyer in the Brown Palace and spearheaded all the restoration of work at the state capitol. So it was a lot of fun. I also went out to the CCC camp in Morrison, Colorado. Field. It was a tour. And if nobody knows, out of the hundreds of CCC camps in the United States, there are only 2 left. The one in Morrison, Colorado, and another one in Michigan. And of course, my pedigree and heritage with that is my great grandfather was supervisor of Pike National Forest and was in charge of the CCC camp WPA projects here in the Pikes Peak region. And I felt very personally connected to that. So most of the CCC camps were disassembled and turned into barracks for soldiers that went off to war the next year. It was dissolved. So it was a lot of fun. It was very cool. So anyways, worlds of information. And if anybody doesn't have anything else, I'm going to go ahead and adjourn the March 1st, 2023 meeting of the Historic Preservation Commission. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. It's good to hear everyone. Bye-bye.